what's going on, everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kieran. I help people using a spiritual perspective. Today, I'm going to be talking about what to do when you can't get out of a rut. All right? When you don't think that things can get better. You know, I think we've all been there. We've all been in a place or a position where the self-pity and the grief or the anger, the frustration, the confusion with where we're at in life gets to a point where it seems like it's dragging on. Seems like it's been going on for maybe weeks or months, you know. At times, most of us seem to get sad or disappointed or dejected. And, you know, for myself, maybe like 2 or 3 days, and then maybe not even that long. And then you sort of get back into a rhythm and you think, okay, well, I can keep going. I can keep moving on. Things will be all right. Just getting some emotions out of the way, right? So most of the time it can be kind of normal. And it is most of the time very normal to have days where you don't feel very good, even if they're consecutive days. Now, I know that a lot of spirituality would try to tell you that that isn't the case, that we should all just be living on a rainbow the whole time, eating cotton candy and just feeling amazing and just so blissed out, man. But no, that's not reality. So it's normal for us to have times where we are feeling down, okay? And we will have ruts in our life, periods where we feel kind of stagnant, where we're not really moving forward like we believe that we should be, right? So there are times, though, that we feel like it is going on too much. And no matter what we've read or videos we've watched or the articles that we've seen or the meditations that we've been doing or the thoughts that we've tried to change or the people that we've tried to talk to, it just doesn't seem like we can get out of it, right? Now, I'll tell you, like, man, February, I was in a rut. Maybe even into a little bit of the end of January too, but it felt like it was going on for a while, maybe a month or so. And February's have always been very hard for me since I started sort of my spiritual journey. Whereas March, on the other hand, has always been very, very powerful. So February was this month where I felt like there was a lot of pain that I probably hadn't processed before, and it was just coming up. And it really felt like I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get anywhere. I couldn't even move. You know, at one point, I was trying so hard to get out of the rut. I was trying desperately to get out of these feelings of boredom and dejection and pain and just stagnancy. I was trying so hard, and I ended up injuring myself because of that. Not directly, you know. But indirectly, in the sense that I was going overboard with walking and sort of exercising and doing and focusing on doing so much to get myself out of this rut that I ended up spraining my knee and even hurting my calf a little bit. So it was, you know, really hard. That didn't make it easier, because then you're forced to sit. You know, you're forced to just be with yourself, with your emotions, right? And that taught me something, actually. It taught me something. One, it taught me that I'm out of shape. Two, it also taught me, more importantly, that the most important thing you can do in those situations is lean into the experience, not run away from it, right? When we're in a rut, there's those couple of days, and even thinking about it in just a small amount of time, like a 3-day rut, 2-day rut, the ones that most of us have from time to time. As soon as you start feeling that way, your mind immediately goes to, oh, I got to get out of this. I got to leave this feeling. I have to move on to another feeling because this feeling sucks. I don't like this feeling. Let's get out of it. So there's always this mental goal of moving on, travel. You know, the mind always thinks in terms of like travel. If you could think of point A to B, the mind wants to get to point B. Whereas the soul wants to kind of experience what A is like, and then what is going on between A and B. You know, the soul isn't necessarily thinking of things from a perspective of, you know, of linear, like A, B, like that. It's the whole thing is okay. The whole experience is great for the soul, right? So for us, when we're in those experiences, those small little ruts, and we're trying to get out of it, when we finally do, we're like, oh, okay, great. It was just a little rut. I got out of it. Look at me. I'm so strong. I'm so mentally tough. You know, I persist. It was just a little bit of that. I didn't give up. So you feel a little bit good. Your mind took you somewhere, and you have this false sense of confidence. But then when you have those moments where the ruts don't go away, you start losing that false sense of confidence. Your ego starts to get humbled a little bit. It starts going, well, I don't understand. I did this before. This should go away. And so you start coming up with new ideas, new things that you should try, that you should do. you do all the things that you think would help: meditation, exercise, talking to people, working, focusing on maybe your hobbies, doing something that brings you happiness. You try so much that the goal of getting out. But the idea is, it's not a small rut anymore. It's a long rut. It's, oh shit, now it's 2 weeks, now it's 4 weeks, now it's a month and a half. It's going on now where no matter what you try to do, the rut doesn't actually go away. You're still in it. And this is what the injury sort of taught me, is that you have to lean into that experience. You can't get out of it. Not really. I mean, getting into it is getting out of it in a sense. It's sort of like, it's like when you're up. I don't know if you guys ever been to a water park. Do they still make those? I don't know. I guess they still exist. It's kind of gross when you think about them. I mean, they've got to be so much urine in those places. More urine than at least all of New York City. But there is parts where you get up to top of a slide, like a water slide, like a tunnel, like a dark tunnel, whatever. And obviously you don't necessarily know how long it's going to be. You really just have to go through it to get to the other end, right? They used to have this tunnel, this water slide that I went to as a kid. It was called the Black Tunnel. Not like in a racist sense. The African American tunnel. It was a black colored tunnel that you couldn't see out of. It was completely pitch dark, and it was I think it was like the fastest one or the scariest one or whatever it was. It was kind of scary to the average child. And when you got up there, it's kind of too late to back out, especially if you're with friends or whatever. Like, nobody's gonna let you back out. You gotta go. And the only way to get to the safety, to get the experience to be over, essentially, is you had to go through the tunnel. You had to go through that pitch darkness, and however long it lasted, maybe 45 seconds, a minute, whatever. And then and then the light comes, and you're like, oh God! And then there is that, of course, that brief sense of joy, and you're finally safe, and you're in this sort of safe pool water that you come out of. You're spewed forth like vomit into this little safety pool. And then everything's fine, right? And then you think, oh, maybe that wasn't so bad. That is exactly how ruts are. That's how these longer ruts work. You have to go through the experience. You have to lean into it. And the more you lean into it, whether you're forced to like I was or you purposely do it, what happens is you actually end up feeling so much better by the time you do come out to that sort of safety pool, right? The time you feel safe again. There is that element of being okay with the shadowy darkness that's going on around you, being okay with the rut. Ruts are not punishments. They're not proof that we suck. They are not evidence that we are failing at our own life. They are there to get us closer to ourselves, and just like anything that we're running away from, the farther that we run, the harder that we try to run, that we pump our little spiritual legs away from an issue, it only becomes much scarier. Sort of like going in the woods at night. This is just going to be a video of metaphors, by the way. So it's like going through the woods at nighttime, and you think something's chasing you because it's kind of scary, right? You don't. In the daytime, it's perfectly fine. You know everything, but at nighttime, that same park, that same forest, that same woods, it's scary as shit. You don't know exactly. There's clouds. You can't see everything. There's a lot of shadows, strange noises. So you get very afraid, unnecessarily so, but you get afraid, and so you may panic a little bit. You start to run. You start to go like that. I've been in the woods before when it's night, and you just start panicking. You just start running or going way too fast, and you could injure yourself, quite literally. But spiritually, it's the same way. You could injure yourself spiritually. But when that happens, the harder you run, the scarier it seems. But what happens is, if you turn and just turn to face what you think is chasing you, you realize it's just your own shadow. It's actually not anything to be afraid of. And then once you've turned to face it, it's not that bad. It's actually not as uncomfortable as you thought it would be. It's actually only uncomfortable. The rut is only so difficult the more you run away from it. So if you do find yourself in a rut, I think that when those small little ruts, there isn't so much resistance to it. But at some points in your life, if you are not feeling good about other parts of what's going on in your surroundings, your reality, if a rut does come in, that's gonna, you're gonna take that on a little bit more than you normally would, and so it tends to extend itself because you're already trying to get out of it, like many of us do with these small ruts. But if you're in a small rut in a place in your life where your life feels stagnant in general, then that rut is going to it's going to stretch because you're going to keep on trying to run away from it. But the best thing you can do when you find yourself in those situations is before you start running 5, 10, 15 meters, you got to just turn and face it. And it's one of those like very easier to say sort of things than do, but it's one of those things that if you can make that decision within like a day or just very quickly, just go, okay, I'm facing it, and not give yourself time to think about it, it automatically sort of washes away and things feel much lighter. And so that longer rut, or that what might be a longer rut, is only going to be a day or two. And however long it lasts is really not that important. It really just comes down to being in a place where you can sit with the feelings that are coming up with this rut. And that could be, again, confusion, anger, frustration, pain, grief, things of that nature. The best thing you can do is face them. And then when you do that, it's not that sad, you're not that angry, it's not that painful. It's still there, it exists, the feelings exist, they're obviously still uncomfortable, but it becomes more like getting a regular cleaning from the dentist than getting your tooth pulled, right? So when you run away, it seems like it's so incredibly scary. It's like, oh, that's like getting my tooth pulled or something like that. But if you actually just face it head on right away, it's just a regular cleaning. And yeah, it's uncomfortable. A dentist tries to talk to you and you can't respond, which is always weird, by the way. I don't know why they do that. But it's not that bad. Cleaning is not that bad. Maybe there's some bleeding, but it's really not that painful. So the experience itself, you think it's going to be scarier than what it actually is. So if you do find yourself in a rut right now, obviously don't give up. Keep having faith in yourself, or whatever higher power, I suppose, but most importantly, have faith in yourself that you'll get through it, and just turn your attention inwards. Don't worry about what's going on the outside. Surely there's a lot of confusing, horrible things going on the outside world, within your world, others, but if you turn your attention inwards, those sort of things will take care of themselves, even though that seems illogical or paradoxical. But by putting your attention towards yourself and giving your obligation, the only obligation that you have towards what you're going through, you'll actually get through it a lot quicker.